This was fraud. So we expected you as the CEO of the county to invite other government agencies to help you.
As we speak, Chair, the matter is with the EACC.
Oh, good. So at least then, Chair, if already the matter is outside there with EACC, maybe then what you recommend is we do forensic instead of also wasting now more time on something that is already outside there.
Yeah, so that's clear. Members, don't repeat yourself.
It's very clear. In fact, when a governor should have started that more or less with a disclaimer, other than us at least dwelling on it. Though, even if we gave benefit of doubt, looking at it again, I repeat, there are no receipts, and even the recipient's institution that showing they have received the money. Actually, that is the bottom line.
Yeah, Senator Mutinda. Don't repeat yourself. The matter is now very clear.
I didn't want to repeat myself, but Chair, we have to be realistic with what is current. You know, I was listening to your CC, and CC on my issue that I'd raised on the Moi Girls Kamusinga, asking you why you are giving different checks. I sit in the Finance and Budget Committee, where we issue funds to these counties. And when we come to this oversight and see how money cannot be accounted, I mean, it really discourages so much. So when you reply and say, money from the exchequer comes in late. So do you want to tell me you gave check number 45549 and still money came late? You gave check 4550, that is 50. You gave check 51, you check 52. And we most of us here, we have checkbooks, you know. So you cannot tell me the amount, let me call it like that, like a small amount that came from exchequer was, you are able to give amount 21,000 to this student. And the second following check is consistent with the check numbers. The second one, it took you so long, so there was no check within there that you wrote. So at least when you're also giving this, your governor is admitting, which we appreciate. But if you're the accounting officer, you need to own up and say, yes, there's a mistake, there was a problem. Because actually, the advantage you have is that you were not in office then. So why are you trying to give us answers that will suit you at this time? And this is not your work. You were not there in place. So just own up. You cannot tell us there was no money. The check numbers are following each other consistently. So it's good to honor, because a governor depends on you so much. Us as a committee rely on you so much. It's only Article 179 that makes him be responsible to answer all these questions. But he really depends. That's why you're seated next to him. So when there's an error, let us accept so that we can be able to move forward. Thank you, Chair.
Wakoli.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to request, looking at this sequence of the sequence of the checks, we need to do an audit of these checks, because I expected that the flow of the checks will be clear, and where the number of the checks are not there is also a question that needs to be cleared. So through my governor, my friend in charge of finance, you should be hands-on. The least I expected is being tongue-tied in the Senate setting like this, putting our governor in a very awkward situation. So through the chair, we proceed with the forensic audit and then deal with this matter. Thank you.
Let's not belabor these matters. I will give directions, and the directions I give, number one, is that the county, you submit to us the report of the task force, again in the 14 days. Number two, I do not find these schedules very useful to this committee. Because as members have pointed out, there are so many anomalies. Every page there is an anomaly, and it doesn't have admission numbers and all that. So given that we are going to order for a forensic audit, I therefore direct that these schedules be expunged from our record because they are misleading. But forensic audit be conducted by the Office of the Auditor General. Communication should be done by the clerk for that. But taking note that EACC is already handling the matter. Unfortunately, the representation from EACC is not here today, but he would have confirmed. So I think that addresses the matter, and the governor, thank you for taking action on this matter. In fact, you should just have told us that this matter is before EACC as your response. That would have stopped us from going around in circles. So I think that brings us to the end of our bursary fund. So we proceed to disaster and emergency fund. So you can clear the documents and give members disaster and emergency fund. So just like what we did under bursary fund, auditor, I would like you to give us a brief of the fund for each year, starting with the year ended June 2020.
For the three funds, we got the first year.
Just before you continue, and the members of the media, we will expect you to make fair reporting of our proceedings. These particular issues took place when the governor was still the speaker. So yeah, I think you should note that, because I saw the other day you had written something and the governor was not there. So you need to note that. Proceed.
We are dealing with Bungoma County Disaster and Management Fund, and we have 3 years. The first year is year ended 30th June 2020, where we had an adverse opinion. The second year is that ended 30th June 2021, which we had a qualified opinion, and the final year is financial year ended 30th June 2022, where we had a qualified opinion. The financial year 2020, that's where we have bulk of the issues as compared to the other 2 years. And here we got an adverse report. The total number of issues which were raised in this particular year are a total of 30, where we had 10 were addressed and 20 were not addressed. And 20 were not addressed.
Let's proceed.
So we go through the financial year 2020, whereby we had the following: failure to provide trial balance and ledgers. This is not resolved. The statement of financial performance, this was not resolved. That is, these are inaccuracies in the financial statements. We also had inaccuracies in the statement of financial position. This is not addressed. We also had issues and included in that issue on the statement of financial position are issues on interest which are not addressed. We also have issues on land and buildings. They are still also incorporated in that statement of financial position, and they are not addressed. We also had variations on road and bridges, which is not addressed. Another financial statement which had errors inaccuracies is a statement of net assets. This is not addressed. In addition, we also had issues with the statement of cash flows, and this has not been addressed. And other than the issue of inaccuracies, we had an issue with irregular expenditure, whereby the matter is not addressed on several issues, which are included in the in one. We also had an issue number 3 on interest management. This is also intertwined with the first issue on a statement of financial performance, and we are saying we have an issue with the outstanding interest and management of interest. The other issue is on issuance of multiple interest. This has been resolved. The other issue is on irregular payments of allowances.
Auditor, don't use the word resolve. Because it is this committee to resolve. It just say addressed.
Yes.
Resolve is the mandate of this committee.
Irregular payments of allowances. This has not been addressed. Irregular payment of works which were not done. This is not addressed. There is the issue of budgetary control. This is as discussed. Unresolved prior year matters. This has been addressed. Presentation of financial statements. This has been addressed. We also had issues of variances in the general ledger and the expenses and the schedules provided. This has not been addressed. We had issues on payments of non-related emergency items. This is not addressed. And that is the last issue. So for the financial year 2020-2021, we had an issue with the presentation and inaccuracies in the financial statements. This has not been addressed. Also, we had an issue with cash and cash equivalents, whereby part of it is was addressed, and this is as discussed. Budgetary control and performance. This is as discussed by the committee. There is also an issue with non-compliance.
Was discussed by the committee. Remember, this is a different fund.
Yes, because you had given directions that when an issue is discussed at the first item.
But that's if we are dealing with the same fund.
Oh, okay.
This is a different fund.
Agreed. So the issue here is budgetary control and performance. The issue is partly resolved or addressed. Then we also have an issue with non-compliance with contractual terms of Siuna Kimarewa Culvert projects, where the issue is not addressed. We also had an issue with lack of an approved budget. The issue is not addressed. And we also had the issue of lack of internal audit reports. This issue has been resolved, has been addressed. So now we move to the financial year 2022, the year that is June 2022, where we had a qualified opinion. The first issue is inaccuracies in the financial statements. This issue has not been addressed. The second issue is on budgetary control and performance. And this issue has not been addressed. And the other issue is on unresolved prior year audit matters. This has not been addressed. We come to the end of the 3 years.
honorable members, we were consulting here. This particular fund seems to be having so many issues, quite a number of issues, starting with the first year, 2019-2020, which had an adverse opinion, and there are quite a number of issues there. So I've consulted the clerk, and the clerk is advising that these queries are quite weighty, and because of the limited time we have, we will not be able to cover it, do justice to it right away. So the clerk will sit down with his team, which includes the physical analyst, look through the queries, flag out the queries which have high fiduciary risk, and those particular queries we will look at them together with the other funds. We have other funds for Bungoma which we are not going to cover today, so that will be looked at together with those other funds that are remaining in Bungoma. And when we come back, we will commence with the disaster and emergency fund, because Kasho, look at it, this thing will take us a whole day, these emergency funds, because like the first year was almost over 10 queries which are not addressed yet, and the amounts are very significant. So the clerk plus your secretariat team, you will go through these reports with the responses, and then flag out the many issues which we are going to consider in the next meeting we are going to have for Bungoma, for the other remaining funds, for a date that we are going to set up. So we say that because we want to do justice to this report and to the people of Bungoma. And let's see if there is any, can see Governor is raising.
Again, I want to agree with you, because again, I formed a task force which those report will be able to present, and the findings are almost very similar to what has been raised by the auditors. The matter is also still with EACC. I think some documents can also be retrieved from EACC, and again, the officers who are involved also suspended them, and they are not in service. So I agree with you that we need to get deeper into it so that the people of Bungoma get justice and get to know exactly what happens. I agree with you.
Yeah, so Governor, maybe you can also supply us with a copy of that task force report. Senator Eddie?
Chair, you know the Governor has pronounced himself a number of times on the issue of task force and on the issue of EACC. I'm almost persuaded to think that we will not do justice going through these documents, because it's like, I remember we were doing the water issue. I think it was the same Bungoma, and there are task force on the on some water, probably Tanzania, if I'm not wrong. And so in the case where a new governor has formed a task force to be able to address a matter of this kind of magnitude, Chair, would it be prudent that the governor tells us the timeline for this task force, when are they finishing their job, and then when can we possibly get that report first? I'll get that report, we'll interrogate that report first. Because my belief is that that report will address some of these emerging complexities with the audit query. So once you examine that report, then even if our technical teams and the physical analysts are going through the audit query, they are going informed with what the task force has done. That way, we are not going to repeat ourselves on the issues that are emerging, the same way we did with I think with the water company in Bungoma and Tanzania. We really relied on
the task force report to be able to enable us decluster or cluster some of the areas that they wanted us to be able to help them with. So if there are funds here that have got a task force going on, could you just mention them to us, all of them, and then give us a timeline on when this task force is going to finish their job? And then that anticipatory audit exercise, we can be able then to harmonize the two. Otherwise, we'll be doing double jobs, and we need to get into current affairs of the current governors. Chair, submit.
Chair,
Very well.
I wanted to respond.
Yes, proceed.
That the task force completed their work. The report has already been, all the reports have actually been tabled to the county assemblies and recommendations were made. So we can even provide them tonight, if depending on how urgent it is. So the task force report is there.
So maybe you can provide it. Let me give you 7 days.
Yes.
So that as the clerks are going through these queries and preparing a report for us, they will have the benefit of going through the task force report. But also tell us, is this other fund also facing the same challenge? The Youth and Women Empowerment Fund?
No, it's not so serious. The disaster one, actually, like the name says, is a disaster. So I think that is the one that has serious issues. But the youth and women is not so much. But again, it's good just for us to.
Senator Mutinda?
We are on the same page, Governor. Now you've made it easier. But I just wanted to know, when did you submit this issue to EACC?
That was sometime last year. I can't remember exactly, because we have a regional office actually in Bungoma, so they have all this documentation. I think immediately that must have been November, December last year.
Okay, so it's barely less than 3 months.
2022.
Oh, 2022.
Yes.
So it's almost 1 and 3 months.
Yeah.
1 year.
I'm sure if they have been very serious and thorough, they must be at the tail end of the investigations. But that is for them to tell us.
Okay.
I want to request through the committee that we also get a brief from EACC, because there's a tendency of them also taking their sweet time and also milking the animal before the report is given. So through the committee, we need to get an update. Thank you.
Yeah, very well. So the clerk, please write to EACC to give an update, not just on the disaster fund, but also on the other fund, the 2 funds, so that when you are preparing your brief to the committee, you look at the task force reports, the EACC update, and these audit responses, so that we can now prepare to engage the county of Bungoma next time. Maybe Governor, you can tell us which other funds do you have apart from this?
We have the women and youth, and that's also disability. Yeah.
Oh, disability.
Yeah.
Liquor fund?
We have trade loans also.
Liquor?
Liquor, no.
Okay.
Why are you interested in liquor?
Through the chair.
Through the
I
chair.
think the statement is not in good faith, because a county like ours cannot have a fund for liquor.
The county that I represent, Nairobi, the liquor fund is on another level.
Okay. So members, we will defer consideration of this fund because of the reasons we have stated. So Vice Chair, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You are here.
I am there. We started the meeting.
You look like you are just coming in. So, honorable members, let's quickly look at the last fund here, which is the Youth and Women Empowerment Fund. So again, Auditor, you give us a brief.
Chair, through the chair.
Yes.
I want to request that I fall out of the session.
Yes.
To pursue other matters of national importance.
No, not county importance.
Actually, I think this is the most interesting point. Even as the six to step out. And it's for youth. It's very important.
I also support that he should be here because of that fund for youth and women, because he's the senator for that county.
He's a youth himself.
For that reason, for the reason of women.
Okay. Auditor, proceed.
We have before us is Bungoma County Youth, and before us we have Bungoma County Youth and Women Empowerment Fund, and we have the years. Two of the years have got an adverse report, and 1 year has got a I start with the first year, that is the we also had an issue on presentation of the financial statements. This has been addressed. We also had an issue with the failure to achieve FAD objectives. This has not been addressed. There was also an issue on the lack of budget for new loans. This has not been addressed. We also had an issue with non-compliance with the revolving fund principles. This has not been addressed. That is for the year ended, that is June 2020. For the year ended, that is June 2021, it is an adverse opinion, whereby we had an issue with the accuracy of the financial statements, and the issue has not been addressed. We also had an issue with non-recovery of the outstanding loans. The issue has not been addressed. We also had an issue with the sustainability of services. This has not been addressed. We also had an issue with unresolved prior year matters. This has not been addressed. We also had an issue with the outstanding interest. This has been addressed. We come to the end of that year. We had another year, that is the financial year ended, that is June 2022, whereby the opinion is qualified. The first issue is on a failure to correct an undiscoverability of rules that had been issued, and this item is still not addressed. It had also another component in it on a lack of provision of the doubtful debts. This has not been addressed. We also had another issue on unsupported cash and cash equivalents. This has been partially addressed. We also had an issue with inaccuracies in the financial statements. This has not been addressed. There is the issue of sustainability of services, whereby the issue has not been addressed. And finally, you have an issue on outstanding interest. This has been addressed. Thank you, sir.
About this fund,
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think generally amalgamate them to make management a bit easier, because each fund had a lot of challenges arising from capacity, like I've said. To add on what I've said.
Is it finance? Okay, through the chair. Actually, the whole issue is about capacity issues on preparation of financial statement and of the fund because of high administrative cost. So the proposal we're actually doing currently is to amalgamate all the empowerment funds like trade loan, disability, youth and women, because it serves the same purpose but different objective. So because instead of having separate committees which attracts the administrative cost, we wanted it to be under one framework so that we manage the administrative cost. And the issue of capacity, we have actually we have planned as country to train all the accountants, because most of the issue is inaccuracy in financial statements. Those ones we have flagged out. And also, Chair, because of proper management, we have opened all these funds special purpose account in Central Bank, and that is as required by the regulation 82 of 2015. So that for easier of administration and reporting, all of them are migrating to IFMIS. Thank you.
Senator Agenda. Chair, of course, beautiful submissions there. I do not know whether there's a bill that is underway or that has been worked or presented to the Assembly to amalgamate the fund. But Chair, my concern is we have two advice reports in this, as the auditors stated. There are two advice reports. I propose, Chair, that we pick out the recurring issues to the last year so that we then move this to the next level. So that I know it was not his, the Right Honorable Makelo was not in office then. It was not his fund, but also see what weaknesses, why without 2 adverse reports for 2 consecutive financial periods, and even this one is also, the last one is also not any good. So we can include, so that even if they are doing a new bill for purposes of amalgamating everything else, at least we have, we are able to contribute or help them, help the county to have a framework that will work. Otherwise, again, if you just put women, children, women, youth, and other people into a fund, it will be a bigger mess next year.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Chair. I was just looking at the Act. And in this Act, which was enacted in 2015, quite so many years ago, six, 2, which says that there shall be paid out of the fund 8% of the sums allocated to the incurred in connection with the administration of the fund. And Chair, you know very well, county regulations under PFM 197 says that the percentage for administration should be 3%. So why are you still having such with this kind of figures, because they're not as per the PFM? At the same time, Chair, even before we look at the issues of the audit, this Act does not guide on the recoveries of the fund. They say the loan is as per prescribed. It's just open. Was it money for campaign that was being given to people? Was it money for charity? What was this that you're so comfortable, Governor, from 2015, even before you thought of becoming a governor, I can tell, that you come to office and this Act is what is presented to this committee?
No, maybe just for correction.
Yes, Governor.
I was a governor between 2013 and 17. Actually, I'm the one who came.
Perfect. That is even better.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because now, if you are the one in office, and you are the one now in office in 2024, then this is something that should have been rectified immediately. Why are we still having 8%, which is not as per the PFM regulations? Should be 3%. Are we really dealing with emergency, or are we making people comfortable in their allowances?
Actually, it has been revised, just awaiting approval by the county assembly.
Okay, through the chair, let me take 1 second. I would request the governor, yes, we need to make progress, because if there's any new things that are being done, when the chair gives you opportunity to do remarks, these are some of the issues that need to be raised, because when I asked for the Act, I needed not to be provided by this one. I needed to be informed the same, so that we don't dilly-dally on the old script. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But if we can't give you what is already not existing. So once it's approved, then you should approve it. Yeah, okay.
Chair, maybe the governor can tell us the actual status. They want to amalgamate. What is the progress? Is the law in place now, so that we know these funds are all going to collapse and we'll have one, so that even when we are making recommendations, we are making recommendations to something that we know it is going to continue, or you are having something cooking different in place.
Let me give my CC agenda also, so that they are not just here. They can also make a useful contribution. Chair agenda.
CC agenda.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We already forwarded the regulations to the County Assembly. We were actually supposed to appear before them tomorrow to take them through the regulations before they approve. So it is already work in progress. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, I want us to make progress. As explained by the CEC Finance, most of the queries relate to issues of capacity and incompetence. But the clerk has isolated two major queries that we need to look at that cuts across all the other years. The issue of 2022, the year ended 2022, we have a query on non-recovery of outstanding loan. Members, you know we are experienced enough on matters of such funds and the issue of non-recoveries of interest. Then we have a query on sustainability of this fund. So we will look at the two funds and two queries which cut across the 3 years, and then we close. But before I ask the auditor to start us off, COB, Wasike, what is your feedback on these 3 funds from COB?
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I would want to confirm to this committee that Bungoma County is one of the counties that does not submit the quarterly reports, financial statements for the funds as required. As at the latest report we have for the first half, they didn't submit any financial statements for any of the established funds. So it is a concern even to us as an office, because this is law and they need to abide by it. That is PFM Act 168(3). Thank you, Chair.
Very well, Governor.
The CC Finance.
CC Finance.
Chair, I want to confirm that the 2 quotas I submitted actually in person, and they were received in the Office of the Controller of Budget. And I was surprised. Actually, I was supposed to write back to confirm. Actually, you received, and again we are appearing. We have not submitted. So that was clear, and I have evidence of that.
So, I think there is a gap there.
Chair, I want to inform the committee that our report is already on website, and if the county saw that they had submitted and we didn't indicate, they should have informed us. But what is on website is what we rely on as of now. And really, this report, a copy of this report is already with Senate and also the National Assembly for the first half.
Chair,
Senators.
I also concur to some levels with the COB. The copy I got was from the website of the report they have. But through the chair, I think it's a matter that my good governor can be able to address, so that in future our officers in Bungoma table the reports on time, so that we are able to be in line with other counties. Thank you.
Preliminary issues, I don't want us to spend a lot of time on them. Senator Odinga.
Chair, that sounds like a competence issue on the, it's part of what is of the COP, one of the competencies. Maybe he didn't submit. He says he has evidence he submitted. Maybe she didn't receive. I think that is the official position. I don't know how that will be resolved.
Chair, you know, this is something that can be checked. Yeah. One of them is not saying the truth. So we just go find out whether it was submitted or not, and we know who's lying and who is not lying. We don't need to belabor. We can, even from here, walk to COB and check whether they are submitted or not. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Chair, just a quick one. I just wanted to know for how long the gentleman, the CEC Finance, has been in office. For how long have you been the CEC of Bungoma County, CEC Finance? To the governor.
But what do you want to achieve with that, Senator Mutinda? Use the mic.
I just need to know for how long it's been, then I will tell you what I'm seeking.
Okay. CC.
Thank you, Chair. I've been there. It's now over a year.
Yeah. So, with that information?
Yeah, that information, Chair, you know, it's very important for us as members because some of these durations do tell us and guide us the duration that an accounting officer has been in office. Then it can tell you when we notice some of these issues that do crop up. As much as he's competent probably on his experience and credentials, but you see we are noticing as a committee there are loops, there are gaps. This is the first time I'm hearing the Office of the Control of Budget saying something different and an accounting officer saying something different on the same floor. It's most of the time she says it and they do confirm because she's there to correct and to guide. So that 1 year tells us. Chair, you want to read my mind?
Yeah, I'm supposed to read. Yeah, Governor.
Chair, I think this is a serious matter. Actually, we must find out the truth. Yes, we must find out the truth and action be taken. Because we cannot come here just to appear like we are joking. So we must find out whether this was submitted or not, and if it was submitted, why it was not captured. So that we know we get the truth. Because we are of integrity. Because now if they start questioning the integrity of my CC finance, that is very serious. Because I'm the boss and he's sitting on my right. And I can take action immediately. So I really want to find out exactly the truth. And if we realize that COB received and they did not also act on it, we also make recommendations so that we are,
Yeah, so I think CEC Finance, you said that you had written to them. You took it personally and there was a cover letter and all that.
Yeah, Chair, I can confirm I submitted in person. In fact, we were with the Chief Officer of Finance when we came, we paid a courtesy call and we had all the documents. Yeah, so we will prove that.
There's even more evidence here. Maybe.
Yes. Chair, I am the accounting officer for the department, and my first assignment when the governor posted me to the department was to work on all the pending submissions, the reports. I did and handed over to the CEC Finance for onward transmission. Thank you, Chair. Mark?
Chair, I think this matter can only be resolved by documentary evidence. The date stamped receipt, then that would resolve this matter. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, so I think maybe the best way forward is for you to submit that documentation to us. The letter stamped, we want to know when it was stamped, because we are not ruling out the fact that maybe it could be an omission on the part of COB. So submit to us.
7 days, yeah?
7 days, yeah. Yeah. No, for submission of the document so that the clerk, we will advise the committee, and where we find there is a problem, we will write to COB. And maybe there are so many other counties that have the same problem. Yeah. Because almost every county that appears before us, we have that challenge of submission of returns to COB on the funds. So how is that possible when the law is very clear? So we will wait for your submission in 7 days. Honorable members, I'm really concerned with the time. It is now 4:30. I think we have to end by 5, and we only have 2 queries. Non-recovery of outstanding loans, auditor, for the year ended June 2022. Okay. Proceed, auditor.
The issue is on non-recovery of outstanding loans. As reported in the previous year, the statement of financial position reflects a balance of Kenya shillings 23,380,522 and a current portion of long-term receivables from exchange transactions, which, as disclosed in note 3 to the financial statement, represents current loan repayments due. However, records maintained by the fund indicate that the loans have remained outstanding for more than 5 years since they became due for recovery, contrary to the provisions of Regulation 24, subsection Sub-Regulation 1 and 2 of the Bungoma County Youth and Women Empowerment Fund Regulations 2015. In addition, a provision for bad and doubtful debts has not been made in the financial statements to mitigate the effect of the apparent uncertainty in recovery of the amounts. In the circumstances, the fair valuation of and recoverability of the current portion of long-term receivables from exchange transactions balance of Kenya 23,380,522 as of that is June 2022 could not be confirmed. Thank you.
Very well. Governor, the management response.
Okay, the management agrees that the loans have been outstanding for long. The recoverability of the loan has been hampered by deficiency in the fund's regulations, but actions taken include issuance of demand notices to defaulters, joint meetings through national government administrative officers, and suspended advancing loans due to the existing defaults. But maybe what has also not been put there is just there's been, I would say, incompetence in those who are supposed to have recovered these funds. So it's not put there, but that's what I also discovered. Thank you.
Senator, no, before you come in, let me get the response of the auditor.
We verified as documents presented to us for verification. However,
but I had not finished, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Okay, sorry, there were some appendixes. Appendix 001A, there's a sample of the demand notices. Appendix 001B, minutes on meetings held through national government administrative officers and suspension of loaning facilities. So the fund has also planned for the following actions so as to ensure that the sustainability of the loaning program is sustained. One, revision of the fund's regulations to provide for two-tier vetting. The draft revised regulations have already been submitted to the County Assembly. Remodeling the product to provide more loaning to asset finance and for business loans to be secured by an asset as provided for in the revised regulations. Then 3, amalgamation of Bungoma County Youth and Women Empowerment Fund, Bungoma Disability Empowerment Fund, and the Trade Loan Scheme into one fund so as to increase the operational efficiency. So Appendix 001D is a revised draft regulation and the forwarding letter. Then there is provision for bad and doubtful debts was not provided in the financial statement. This is B. No, that's a different one. Yeah. The same one. Okay, the same. The management agrees that no provision for bad debts was provided as the loans were yet to be classified as irrecoverable due to the ongoing efforts at the time. The management has taken note of the finding and commits to create a provision for bad and doubtful debts in the financial statements of the current financial year. The subsequent write-off decision will be made subject to the provisions in the PFM regulations on write-offs. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. Auditor, your comments on the response?
One of the issues is that we note the management is in agreement with the audit observation, and in addition to that, the documents which they provided to us, we verified. However, this seems not to have had any positive impact on the same. The next issue is on provisioning, whereby provision has not been made, and management states that they are going to carry out the provisioning in the year 2023-2024 financial year or audited accounts. On the same note, we observe that that is a futuristic comment, and it is not committal. At the same time, when a debt is outstanding for more than 5 years, the provisioning should be 100%, and therefore it's almost certain that the money is lost.
Here I have a number of concerns. Concern number 1, Your Excellency, where is the schedule of those to whom loans were advanced in this entire scheme of things? I'm looking for that, and I cannot see who was given a loan and how much was given to that person. Number 2, And so if there are people who are given loans, we want to know when, on what terms, if there are any documents, please avail the documents, and at what interest rates. Were they supposed to be repaid at an interest, or was it a loan given at a flat rate to be given, to be repaid within a year, whatever the time frame as well? So I want to see that document. So is there a loan document? Where is the loan document for each person? Did each person sign off or sign on to a loan document? Because what I see here are names of some people in groups. There is no coherent documentation on what, as to who was given what money. I can see some groups coming here, like, it is clearly a problem. Let's just have that sorted out. Number two, or number three for that matter, I have seen demand notices by the county asking for repayment. Can we have, please clarify measures that have been taken to recover the loans? Have we instructed advocates? Is it the department writing? Is there, please demonstrate a credible follow-up. Have we followed up the groups specifically to know whether or not they are able to repay this loan? I'm asking this, Chair, because we have experience with this scheme of loans. Because at times they advance to county staff, they advance to non-existent people, and there is need therefore for the governor, though he was not in office then, to have the department give all the documents that are necessary so that we can interrogate this question of the loan. Lastly, Chair, you cannot write off a loan to individuals before you know who the individuals are and whether they are existing groups. If they are not existing, then this may require for an EACC investigation if the groups are not existing at all. Because if the groups are not, well, let's find out, are those groups there? That's all, Chair.
So, Governor.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, the Senate has just raised the same issues that I did raise. For example, we may have given loans to people who even died. So that information actually should be provided, and I commit that it should be provided because I raised the same issues when before we even came here. So what's the schedule, who benefited, what is the level of recovery and all that. But now in the new management, what we have done is we have changed from the county itself managing the funds. We want it done through a financial institution, and quite a number of them have provided information on the capacity to be able to administer this, because it will be even easier to follow up than the county government itself through its agencies, because I think we've demonstrated the incompetence not to follow up and recover the money. And again, when it's administered, my own experience, when it's administered through, say, the county government or even the national government, people take it as maybe campaign money, or they don't take it seriously to do business that the fund may have intended to get. So I think those are valid questions that have been raised by the Senator Kisumu, and I think I commit that we should be able to provide all that information as required.
Senator Kisam. Chair, I want to ask a question. I think it might not, from what the governor said, it might not be relevant, but I just wanted to find out, so far, how much have they dispersed and how much has been recovered? Secondly, Honorable Chair, when the governor for Trans Nzoia was here, he gave out a very good proposal, Governor Chair, that maybe to get these women and the youth today, you can assist them. You know, those who are going to apply for loans and what have you, you can give them small work to do roads here and there, so that, you know, there is a link between what the loan they are going to take and the things they are going to do within the county. So basically, you are empowering them, so that you don't give them money to pay school fees and they will not repay, because they are not doing any economic activity that will give them revenue. So you can also explore other ways how to help the groups, maybe by doing seedlings, and every year as you do your replenishing of the 15 billion trees every year, I mean, you buy seedlings from them. So in the process, they are able to repay. You know, the issue is empowerment. I had an issue when I became the MP for Marakwet West in 2013. 2014, I raised close to 50 million to give the women. So they thought this money was supposed to be shared among all the women. So some took loans and they refused to repay. What do you do with it? It almost cost me my seat 2017. So these are very tricky. You know, youth and women, it's not an easy fund to manage. So you just look at it carefully.
Yes, Chair, that's why we talked about remodeling. Those are the ideas that we had, because you see, that was the first experience, and through the mistakes, it's a learning process. We've learned quite a bit, and agree with what you're saying, that now when we remodel, we look at what other alternatives, how can we again manage it and empower them. But for us, to the first question, the CEC gender can respond to that.
From our records, we awarded 47,300,000. Out of this, we have recovered 23,749,806, and we have an outstanding of 23,550,194.
That's not bad compared to other counties where there are zero recoveries. But I think the issue raised by the governor and I think Senator Odinga, that we need to know who are those people who are still holding on to the money. And I think you can provide that list as well to this committee. Yeah. So any other issue, members? Yes. Yeah, bring it.
Chair, worried. What I'm
looking at the time, you know.
And what I'm looking at, the reason I'm trying to reason harder is without even looking at the audit issue, my very much concern from the beginning, and with the governor's response has only been on the deficiency of the funds regulation as is stated. Act in place, then it is null and void. So I wanted to ask the regulations, but Article 116 talks about the funds with the approval. The key word is approval of the County Executive Committee and the County Assembly. Now, I wanted to understand with the issue that you are bringing about, you're still talking about deficiency of the fund regulations. But you see, it's in Article 205 of the PFM Act, it's only the CS who's can enact regulations of the PFM. But now, are you still amending a regulation, or you're working on the act that needs to be approved by the County Assembly of this particular fund? And number two, do you have the duration of the fund? How long should the fund be in place?
Okay, let me give an opportunity to the CEC Finance and I'll...
Okay.
Through the chair, in your answer, you said whether you have an act to manage this fund and whether these regulations are drawing from that act. I think that's what she wanted you to clarify.
Chair, we don't have an act for these funds, but we have a regulation which is drawn from section, that's regulation 197 of the PFM regulation December 2015, and it gives a lifespan of 10 years so that it's reviewed.
Yeah. That's a problem. That's a problem. We faced the same challenge in the morning with the Laikipia, where we are saying the regulations under the PFM Act can only be done by the Cabinet Secretary. So for the county, you need to have a county legislation, which now you will do regulations based on that law. You cannot do regulations on the PFM. Maybe the legal officer, you can comment on that.
Chair, that's the correct position.
Yeah, like now I can see for the disaster, which was a disaster, you have a law. You have a law. But this one, there is a problem. Yeah. You see now this, there is a law and then we have the regulations. So maybe senior counsel, you're just walking in when we are discussing this. Yes. Whether the county legally, whether the counties have powers to draw up regulations based on the PFM Act. Use a mic.
Have county legislation on do a PFM, do their own legal framework on which they can build regulations, because you cannot build onto the national law, the PFM Act, with national legislation, and purport to do regulations. I think that's something we've had with other counties as well. It's a problem. This is what the COG probably should be advising our counties to do, or to comply with it. Let them have their own act, and they do what they need to do under the act. They can mirror national legislation. Why can't they just do their own Kakamega, PFM, whatever, so they guide how they run their financial from FEB, the same way to mirror national legislation. Then they have regulations under that act. That's what they need to do. Simple.
Chair, I think we are guided and we will do the same.
Yeah. I think that's noted. It will come in our interim recommendations.
Yeah, it will. I just wanted to ask the governor if you will have your county attorney with you listening. Do you?
Not today, but we have one.
Okay, thank you.
There's one acting. One of the one was also a victim of the purge that came with the new administration to address the malpractices that we are now addressing here today. So, but I have one acting, but not here today.
Okay.
Okay. So, members, I think that's well noted. We will wait for the list to be given. Number two, the issue of the county law on this, and the regulations should be done after the county law. So that means what you have taken to the county assembly, you may need to withdraw, so that to align it to the law that you would have developed. So I think the last one was sustainability of services, which was query number 4 for the year ended June 2022. Auditor?
Sustainability of services. The financial statements of financial performance. The statement of financial performance indicates that there was no disbursement of new loans. Similarly, the statement of comparison of budget and actual amount indicates that there was no budget for new loans during the year under review. The statement of financial position also indicates that there was no loan recoveries during the year. In the circumstances, the fund is not in a position to achieve the objective for which it was established, and no effort has been made to improve on the situation. Thank you.
Very well, Governor, your response.
Okay, management response A, no disbursement of new loans. The decision to suspend disbursement of new loans was made by the Funds Administration Committee in order for the fund to focus on loan repayments and have an internal focus on how the fund can best achieve its strategic objectives considering the high rate of default. Appendix 003A are the minutes of the Funds Administration Committee. Then B, no budget for new loans. The main source of financing for the fund include loan repayments and exchequer releases from the county government. The fund has not been able to receive any additional funding from the county government since the year 2016. The Office of the Control of Budget had advised the county government to amend the fund's regulations to secure additional funding from the county government. The regulations were subsequently revised in the year 2021. Therefore, the county government is intended to relaunch the fund's activities after completion of other related reforms that are taking place. So a budget has been allocated to provide a seed capital for this initiative. Appendix 003B, advisory by the Office of the Control of Budget. Appendix 003C, revised funds regulations. Appendix 003D, extract of the approved budget. And C, no loan recoveries during the year. So as explained under issue number 1 above, the recoverability of the loans has been hampered by challenges in group dynamics, deficiency in the fund regulations. I think I've explained that. Completed actions include issues of the demand notices to defaulters, joint meetings through national government administrative officers, suspended advancing loans due to the existing defaults. So the Appendix 003 has sample demand notices. Appendix 003F, minutes on meetings held through national government administrative officers and suspension of loaning facilities. So the fund has also planned for the following actions so as to ensure that the sustainability of the loaning program is sustained. I think it sounds more of a repetition because I talked about it. Revision of the fund's regulations to provide for two-tier vetting. The draft revised regulations have already been submitted to the county assembly. Remodeling the product to provide more loaning to asset finance, and for business loans to be secured by an asset as provided for in the revised regulations. Then amalgamation of Bungoma County Youth and Women Empowerment Fund, Bungoma Disability Empowerment Fund, and the trade loan scheme into one fund so as to increase the operational efficiency. Again, Appendix 004, revised draft regulations and the forwarding letter been attached there. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. Auditor, your comments?
The factors which led to lack of sustainability still exist on the funds.
Maybe you can expound on what you're saying, which factors?
For instance, the lack of activity in terms of new loaning and the lack of activity in terms of recoveries. So this is evident that the fund is not able to proceed.
Members, any comments?
Yes, Chair. You know, this fund was established by the governor. Then he was out of office and he's now back in office. You know, it's like having left your home and then when you come you find your wife is married to somebody else. Or she's pregnant.
You quickly get her back.
The men are saying you quickly get her back unconditionally, as if they would do the same. So in that regard, through the chair, Governor, this fund should just be abolished. The irregularities, the issues that are here, Chair, it becomes even difficult to, like, which question you're going to ask. There is no act, the regulations are not in place.
To cut you short, Senator, to cut you short, in the response, they have stated that they are doing a number of things. One, they are amalgamating this fund with the disability fund and with the trade loans scheme. So that's another way of addressing your concern.
No, because you're not the governor and the governor is in place. And I'm happy because it's in a coalition that has a manifesto that talks about the hustler fund. Then people will go for the hustler fund. You know, this is too much, whereby you have committees taking allowances and all that, the struggles. It's at 5 p.m. We are discussing something that you find that is not having its own impact. And remember, I'm coming from a point that being a woman, this is a fund that I've always advocated for all the counties. Being a youth, I've supported this fund. But with what I'm actually saying, you better concentrate with the other funds. But this was your baby, this was your woman, you come back, she's gone, she's lost, let her go.
Chair,
Proceed.
I don't think all is lost. And actually, like you have correctly said, I meant well when we started this. And remember, we are the pioneer governors. There was no devolution. So we came up with some of these ideas to empower women, to empower the youth, to empower people with disability. Of course, there were those operational challenges which we have learned through. That does not mean that we can abandon it, because maybe whoever took over from me did not understand exactly what I had in mind when I wanted to do this. That is why we are talking about remodeling. That's why we're talking about amalgamating them, now getting everything back into a proper perspective so that we achieve what we want. And that's why we are a county government. If you say we go, Hustler Fund is for the national government, of course. It also benefit come from counties, but I don't think that those challenges can really necessitate us to completely forget about them. Let's give it a trial and see how it goes by addressing the challenges that have been identified. I think that is the way to go. If it's a wife and she's still interested in me, she can still come back and we proceed from where we left. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. Any other comments? Chair, maybe just now that the governor understands he needs to do a new law, not the regulations he has passed to the assembly, maybe he needs to give us time. How much time are you going to take? Yes. Yeah. So I think that's a very important point. Yes. Yeah.
You know, because of many things that have come up, public participation, so you can go to assembly, they're going on recess for Easter. After that, a lot of this, maybe 3 months to start with. We try with 3 months. I'm not, because there are other factors that also come in. But on my part, of course, I would really want this to take off as fast as we can.
Okay. Can I hear, Mark, you have anything to say?
No, Chair, maybe just confirm what the auditor is saying. You look at the financial statements, it's 23 million outstanding last 2021-22. The same case in 21 and 21-22 and 2021. So it remains the same. No collections have been done.
Yeah. Senator Odinga.
Yeah, I doubt whether or if there was ever an intention to collect. I think that's the problem, that maybe the people, when we get, I'm sure when we finally get the schedule, we will find many friends of friends in that schedule. And they'll tell us that they did not know they were supposed to repay the money. Because Bungoma is a rich country, people do small business. If you go to town, you'll find, people are selling bananas, especially mangoes and maize, roasted maize. And they will repay, I'm sure. They will repay. If I'm sure they do business, they will be repaying some small money back. So I'm sure there must be lack of knowledge on the part of those who borrowed. Why can't you, Your Excellency, just a question. Why can't you advertise in the newspapers, local newspapers, that the following people need to repay their loans? Because you are a second-term governor, nobody. You don't lose anything because you're not seeking office again. Then you make sure the names are out there.
He will lose votes. He will lose votes.
Chair, I think through you, Chair. Before, it seems like the fund is in ICU when a governor. And in fact, the auditor is actually saying it is not in a position to achieve the objective for which is established, and no effort has been made. So I'm wondering, that recovery period, I don't know how long it's going to take.
Chair, let me give it another twist. You know, in politics, there's no handing over, depending on how you come in and how you leave. And sometimes a project that is started by, say, your predecessor, the successor may easily abandon it because it will give mileage to whoever has gone. So there are a lot of these projects that were abandoned associated with this Lusaka or this, say, agenda projects. So somebody wants to come up with new projects, and that's why I find that maybe there was no initiative, there was nothing really to push the administration that took over to recover the money, so that now you say, so now, you are given, this was free money, because if you start now recovering, and you are going to seek for elections, you lose elections, you become very unpopular. But just like Senator Odinga said, I think, like some of them are even civil servants. So we just need to recover, you know, from their pay slip if the law allows. And we also now put those names, like you've said, even in local newspapers, the following defaulted. And then we start recovering their cows or goats or any other property that we can lay our hands on so that we get our money back. That is why we are changing the approach. And also we want to go through financial institutions. If it is money, we want to go through financial institutions so that if it's KCB, you enter into an agreement, they administer this on behalf of the county government, given whatever terms that we will agree on. So now it's not me as a politician telling you to repay, but it's a bank that is telling you, give us back our money on some agreed model. So that's one way of looking at it. Thank you, Chair.
Just on the same point, Chair, you know, our fund is supposed to be revolving. It's supposed to borrow, have some levy, so that other people then benefit from that. So that at some point, once seed money is put in and there's repayments, the country needs not to spend anything on that fund. That's the intention. But Chair, why I think the governor can make a difference, he's serving a second term. I'm told there are some second term governors who missed, skip the second year, who want to go to court. That case will not succeed. So he will leave because he can't have another term. When he leaves, Chair, he cannot run for MP or senator because he has been a Speaker of Senate. That means he can only be a minister. Chair, in which case, he has nothing to lose. Governor, recover this money. Welcome, Odinga.
I promise I will do it. I will recover with the speed and efficiency.
But Senator Odinga, Senior Counsel, there is nothing that stops the Speaker from vying for Senate.
I can't. Nothing stops me, but I can't vie. I've been the head of that institution, so I cannot come to ask for permission from a speaker to travel to the US. Okay, well, maybe the directive I'm giving here is that we will review the measures that you have put in place in the subsequent audit cycle. The measure of amalgamation, the issue of legislation, regulations, we will review them in the subsequent audit cycle. So, honorable members, that brings us to the end of the Youth and Women Empowerment Fund. As directed that the other issues, we will take the written response, but we note that most of those other issues are related to capacity and competence issues, which should be handled internally by recruiting the right people in those positions. Honorable members, because of time, I will not be able to read out the interim recommendations, but they will be done in a letter to the governor, copied to the senator. There are quite a number of recommendations that we are proposing. So, before we close the meeting, maybe if we have any closing remarks, members, I think you have talked quite a lot. I'll only give the governor to say some closing remarks. On behalf of Bungoma County, I just want to say thank you so much for these conversations that we have had. I always insist and say It's a learning process, a learning curve. Anytime we come and the issues that are pointed out, as we go back, also we go to improve on them so that we can be able to run our counties in a more efficient way. And thank you so much for the cordial environment we have had this conversation, because remember, earlier on, it used to be very acrimonious between the senators and the governors, and even the governors didn't want to come because of the exchanges that used to take place. But I'm happy that today, and even when we came the other time, we're able to have a very good conversation in an environment that is very friendly. So on behalf of my team, I just say thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Governor and Speaker Emeritus, for honoring our invitation. Indeed, we don't take it for granted, because some other person may look at it as demeaning, having been the Speaker of this same House, to appear before senators. But I think you've been very cooperative. We thank you for that. And also we want to thank you because during your tenure as a Speaker, you led to the split of the bigger CPIC committee into CPAC and CPIC. That has given us an opportunity as Senate to have space to look at reports that we would not have looked at as a Senate. That is including investments and now funds. And you can see there are a lot of challenges in funds, and we hope that after this first round of review of the audit reports, we will begin to see better management of special funds in the counties, and that can be attributed to your tenure as a Speaker of the Senate. So thank you very much, and travel safely to Bungoma. So honorable members, we now adjourn until next week, Monday.